I was wondering if you could please talk about the fourth season's historic opening episode, just a little bit about it, Ambush, which was performed live.
Oh, well, that was, we that kind of also kind of evolved out of the storytelling of ER, which was because of this thing that happens when a patient arrives and getting him to the trauma room, a lot of information is exchanged on the move while they're these trauma hallway stuff, that we developed the ability to shoot and move and keep these continuous shots that we called oneers. And because of that, we would have longer and longer shots. And then we thought, well, it's like doing theater in that there's so much we can't just cut in between all the time. And since it's so much like doing theater, wouldn't it be exciting to do a live version of the show? So it just kind of came out of a goof that George and I were, kind of thinking crazy thoughts about, and we all talked about it, and they said, yeah, let's do it. So we did. I mean, I'm not sure it was ultimately as successful as it was fun to do. I mean, it was great at the time, and incredibly, it was just hysterical to think 15 seconds before we went live that if we walked out the door right now and started running, it would mess everything up. You know what I mean? It was like, we really had to go for it. And what's fun, of course, is that we did it live twice. So we did a live East Coast version and a live West Coast version.
And now, your character, Dr. Mark Greene, died at the end of ER's 8th season. Mm-hmm. And so what was it like when you found out that Greene was going to die?
Well, that was a mutual decision because my wife and I had, and as a family, had made the decision that I would finish up my 8th year of the contract and then leave the show because, personally, we wanted to raise our kids, and 8 years was a big commitment, and we wanted to move to New York and do other things in our lives, too. So we had made that decision, and then John Wells really came and said, well, respecting the decision, of course, said that, truthfully, since Greene was so central, he probably can't just walk away from the ER. And how did I feel if he died? And I said, that's fine. I mean, I think whatever serves the best for storytelling. So as a result, it gave the writers the ability to write a storyline that they knew the ending, what was going to happen at the end of that 2 years, and that I was sticking to it. Because often what happens in television is people say they're going to leave, and then they don't leave, and so they don't really know how to write the characters.
Yeah.
So kind of gave them some creative freedom to deal with a major character on television's, demise, and I think it was good because it helped didn't leave the show thinking, when's he coming back?
Well, yeah, in the 7th season of the show, you and the writers really explored the medicine of brain cancer and a brain tumor, and so that really left for the 8th season to deal with the sort of the emotional hardships of a terminal illness.
You've done your research, and you're absolutely right. That was the fun of. We didn't have to spend the last season of ER doing all of that combined, going, oh shoot, this is the last season. So now we have to get him sick, get him in the hospital, have him fight for recovery, and then lose. We did that intentionally. It was the medicine of the 7th season. And the 8th season was more about the kind of emotional closing of someone's life in relation to someone who shouldn't be going early, but is, and how do you wrap those things up? So it was a fantasy in that way, a fantasy fulfillment that, unfortunately when these things happen, but if you had the ability to actually have those conversations with your daughter before you died and be in a place that you wanted to be with the people you love, that's a well-lived life.
It was a really emotional ending, that last scene of you as Dr. Greene walking through the ER, sort of as the gateway to heaven.
Right.
With Somewhere Over the Rainbow playing.
Yeah, it was pretty, yeah. It was good. It's a nice thing that people, have a real visual memory with that song. It's such a beautiful song, so I hope we didn't ruin it for the artist, and hopefully it looks a good positive image for him.
Oh, I think so. And as we all know, ER is now in its 15th and final season. Mm-hmm. And since Dr. Greene died in season 8, were you surprised when you were asked to return to the show?
I was very surprised because I never thought it was possible. I mean, ER is a very reality-based show, and so the idea of, dream sequences of a character coming back are not really in the genre of the storytelling they created. But now, in retrospect, the fact that they came up with a flashback to bring him back made perfect sense, and it was a great way to come back in. And for me, selfishly, it was really fun to go and spend 4 or 5 days with all my old friends. A lot of the actors I didn't know, but the crew, I'd spent 8 years of my life with. So it was one of those. I got that rare pleasure of being able to go back to high school and play with all my old friends.
So could you please tell us, for those who don't know, what role Dr. Greene played in the season 15 episode Heal Thyself?
There's the Angela Bassett's character is the new ER attending, or the new Dr. Greene for the final season of ER. And in her storyline, they told the backstory of her character having had come into the ER, I guess 5 or 6 years earlier, with her son, who Dr. Greene treated unsuccessfully with a whole complication of issues that the son faced. So it was a flashback through Angela Bassett's character's eyes of what both the medicine, her son, her relationship with her husband, all of that meant into her through a new trauma coming in, which reminded her of all of this. And it was, I thought, also really successful in that it was showing how doctors do practice and do learn from their past and draw on their past experiences to make them better doctors today.
Well, I thought that was a great aspect of that episode, too, and it sort of is still showing the show that Dr. Banfield, Angela Bassett's character, still thinks about Dr. Greene and about that day, because when, I believe it was when she was rehiring Carter back to the ER, she asked him, did you know Mark Greene? And that was really when he said yes, he learned a lot. That was she made her final decision on that information.
Oh, really? Great, yeah.
And so, in regards to the time period, the flashbacks really did occur towards the end of Dr. Greene's life, didn't they?
Yeah, it was that last year that he spent in the hospital before he was getting ready to check out.
Now, before you went to shoot the episode, did you know that several of your former castmates would be appearing in the episode with you?
When I first heard about it, they said they were going to, now that once they got me committed, they were going to try and build around that. So it was, just a great addition to be able to see Laura and Paul and, all those friends.
And Yvette Freeman was in the episode,
and
too.
Yvette Freeman.
She was, she
and
came
a lot
on
of the background nurses, too, and trauma nurses and doctors. So for me, it was bizarrely undramatic because it was as if I just walked back to 6 years ago, so it felt normal. you know what I mean?
And there was even the sort of the subplot of the flashbacks of Greene reconciling with his wife, and
right.
The Romano-Weaver tensions, and
right, exactly.
I thought it revealed a lot about the Rocket Romano character. How after he yells at Greene, he looks back with concern, though, when Greene's not looking.
Yeah, well, Paul McCrane just played such an amazingly great character.
And so I guess, why do you think that you and Dr. Mark Greene are remembered as the show's most beloved actor and character, respectfully?
Oh, I don't know if that's true. I think like with anything, if you try to categorize things, you kind of limit yourself. I think there's so many characters that people found ways into. And actually, I just gotten this magazine it's called Emmy Magazine. They do every year, and it had kind of little quotes and interviews from people from ER over the years, and reading that was really brought back tremendous memories and depth of the fact that there were so many great characters that people could relate to. And that's really, if there ever was an ensemble show, it's ER. Greene may have treaded, kind of a central pathway in it, but it really was a result of incredible performances all around.
And that's true, but you were personally my favorite actor on the show, and really my favorite actor.
That's why I'm on your radio show. Of course.
I know, it's once again a true honor to have you, but